Who's
Thank
next?
you.
Yes, I cannot say much about the Romanian situation because
We're talking about trends in general.
Yes,
not only in Romania.
I can tell you that in Denmark, where we are based, first of all, our ensemble, we have 9 members and only 3 of them are Danish. So it's really important for us that we open the positions internationally, and it's the best person for the job gets the job, because it means that the ensemble will be better, because the different inputs create something very special when we play music together. Of course, the good thing about music is that it doesn't have a language. So when we play, it doesn't matter what nationality the musician is, but it helps that they understand each other, of course, when they're rehearsing. But it creates a special atmosphere to have the inputs and the styles and the backgrounds from different countries. And also when we go abroad, of course, we represent Denmark, but we are not Danish in the sense that we're just very traditional. We do classical music.
Two, three. As I summarized very well, actually, the way how the foreign cultural centers are dealing with the local scene here, I would say that even if in between all our 3 institutes are differences in relating and dealing with headquarters, which are in Berlin, in Vienna, or in Paris, the thing is that all our activity is focused on dialogue with a local scene. Even if we are representing Germany, Austria, or France, we are extremely interested in developing a communication with local cultural partners. Now, what I personally I'm trying to do since I joined the forum is precisely not to remain only the junior partners, and to get rid of this idea that a foreign cultural center has to pay some bills, which is the case, actually. What is important in our opinion at the Austrian Cultural Forum is that we have to have an equal position in that dialogue. We are there also to implement some ground lines that are given by our headquarters, but we have actually the freedom to implement in accordance to the requests of the local cultural scene. So the idea is to have a very equal dialogue, and actually in this matter, since we are here the guests of Classix, I would say that Classix is a very good best practice example in that idea, because we are, and I think that all of us 3, we can say the same thing, we are working at the same level, suggesting, getting proposals, and that's how things are working in the best way possible. If we receive just a proposal which is on a table and said, we will anyway actually invite that person, and please pay the bills for it, we might do that, but on the long term, this is not the best approach to take, in my opinion, and we can develop that later on.
Actually, I do share Andre and Alexander's opinion. We are not prescriptors anymore. We don't have the money to do that. We don't have the expertise on everything to to be the main partners, to bring here, you have a French or an Austrian artist, take it. No, we can't do that anymore. But we can't, we have to respect some direction. We have also goals. We are here to promote cultural industry, to promote trends, to promote some artists. And it depends on what kind of dialogue we have with local partners. With Classix, it's very easy because you do have the expertise, you are open-minded, and if you propose us a French artist, we know that it's the good one. So we don't have any discussion. It's not always the same thing because we have partners who propose their friends. Okay, it's your friend, but is he that good? Does he represents French artistic scene properly? And so with Classix, we don't have this kind of problem because you have a very good artistic direction. So we know, we trust you. So we don't have any discussion. Sometimes some festival don't have the expertise on who scene, or Austrian, French, German scene, whatever. And we can help this partner to discover, to find what they are looking for. That's our main goal today, I think.
Thank you. Building on what Andrei was saying before, how do you take a cultural partnership, one time only, to a lasting relationship so that you get impact on a long-term basis? One dialogue would be one thing. What else?
I would say that building a cultural program, because all of us here, even if we are cultural centers or ensembles, we are aiming to go from point A to point whatever. I wouldn't say X now, but yeah, Y, let's say. So we are trying to build something, and we are trying to focus on various topics and various ideas, mainly because we are here to provoke and to challenge the audience. I would say that nowadays the main goal of artists and cultural operators should be exactly to challenge the viewer, the listener, the attendees, whatever. So we are not here, none of us here, to do commercial events that are actually going on a main trend. That should be crystal clear since the beginning. We are here to promote precisely the voices that cannot be heard. And that's something that that is the core of our activity. And that is why we are dealing a lot with emerging artists, with contemporary artists, with contemporary voices that are marginal on the main cultural scene.
I can also say from to turn a little bit to Classix Festival, because it's an international festival where artists come from many countries. And from an artist perspective, it is building relationships, because we come here once, maybe we will be invited at some point in the future, maybe not, we don't know yet, hint. but we come here once, but we meet other international artists who come from other parts of the world, and we meet here and we make music together and we listen to each other, and that makes us better. We go home with all the experience and all the new ideas that we take home from a festival. And of course, when we like another artist from another nationality or another part of the world, we will keep in touch with them because we cherish that relationship that we built in a very short time, in one concert, in one rehearsal. So we just keep in touch, and you never know what's going to come out of that. And that's a really, really important part from an artistic perspective of participating in international festivals. You just meet so many people you would not meet in any other circumstances.
But what would you say are the biggest obstacles that artists face when it comes to seeking mobility opportunities?
Well, money. I'm sorry to be so blunt. Yeah, but I mean, there's, of course, everybody's in culture, everybody gets money, funding for specific activities, and that can put you in a track where you think about, okay, if I want to get, my daily salary, I have to live up to this, and all of a sudden you have twice as much activities than what you can handle because you have to live up to so many expectations, and then to break out of it and think creatively out of the box, so that you don't become just this. It becomes a daily thing. I think that's a really big obstacle.
I just want to come back to the issue Andrei raised just now. He's absolutely right that especially in the Romanian context, and perhaps also especially in the Iași context, I don't know so much about Bucharest, our role to provoke the audience is even more important than perhaps in Germany, Austria, and France, as the local traditional cultural institutions are very, very excellent indeed on a high level. If you think about philharmonics or the opera, they are really excellent musicians, but the repertoire is mainstream, which is very good, and it's very you can sell the tickets. The opera is always full house. I was recently in Carmen, so which was quite nice, very good. So, but it's something which is, let's say, usual in a way. So, where's the place for new directions, provocative perspectives and approaches? And perhaps this is still and in future our role here. As in Germany, for example, the public institutions are exactly working the other way around. They are the ones who are because they are financed by the state, so they are the ones who promote new directions and provocative art in Germany, at least, and the commercial producers of culture, they do let's say the mainstream normally. So here in Iași, the situation is a little bit different, which is not bad. I'm a great fan of the opera and the philharmonics, but if I look at the very, very interesting repertoire the Classix Festival is presenting us every year, it's exactly that what we want. Contemporary music, 20th century approaches, certainly sandwiched with, like you did yesterday, with a little bit of Mozart, and then the Carl Nielsen is not really contemporary, but let's say a modernist approach. So that's what we like. So we are here, as Vincent said already, we are very comfortable with Classix and the concept in general.
Sorry, you mentioned. You mentioned the concert that we played yesterday. This is a really good example of ticking off all the boxes. We played Mozart. We played Danish, the most famous Danish composer, Nielsen. We played a Danish female composer, and we played a Danish contemporary composer. Because so we showed that Danish music and what classical musicians can do in Denmark in its whole form, so that the whole palette was there. And it's a really important way of showing classical music in its wholeness, and not just Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert types, whom we love.
You wanted to add something?
Very short. I do agree with Alexander and Andre, because we are not here to promote commercial trends. Anyway, we can't afford them anymore, and they don't need us. We would like to intervene on a classical cultural scene. I would like to bring here Comédie Française and so on, but I can't. And they don't need us to do so. So what's left for us? Emerging artists, and to promote new form of cultural organization and events. And Classix, again, is a very nice example, because you do promote transdisciplinarity, by example, which is still relatively new in Romania. So you're the kind of part we do need, actually, to do what we have to realize here.
I would just like to add a concrete example in order to complete a little bit. Maybe you know that this year we are marking and celebrating the 200th anniversary of the birth of Johann Strauss. And we have a lot of requests from various ensembles, artists, cultural operators to organize something related to Strauss. What on earth could we do actually related to Strauss, which doesn't involve the waltzes, the regular concerts, whatever that might be, and at the end of the day, does need really Strauss to be promoted by a cultural center? That's the question. Some would say that yes, some would say no. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who is actually our headquarters and our main attached to Vienna, said no. We cannot organize waltz concerts and whatever. And it's absolutely normal. So we have to invent and we have to innovate in this matter. And I will not go saying what we invented, because that would be a little bit bizarre, because we want to be a small surprise. But we are trying to bring Strauss in clubs, in nightclubs, because that would be something, a true creation, starting from a classical starting point and going to contemporary audiences. Because Strauss, when he created that music was aimed to reach a very broad audience, young one, and trendy. Is nowadays that young audience, trendy audience, going to concert halls in order to listen to classical Strauss waltzes? It depends. So how do you reinterpret that heritage? It's extremely important nowadays for our activities in the cultural scene.
Yes, please do.
Just a very small intervention from me as well. Thank you. I would like to kind of build and provoke on both what you, Karina, opened the discussion with trends and what Andrei just said by praising Opera Bastille in Paris. They do lots of these productions where I've actually witnessed Les Engalants by Rameau with a proper rap production, if I'm honest. And that attracted lots of young audiences. And it went viral, even on social media and everything. So those kind of institutions are there. Maybe actually that's one of their missions. Regarding trends, we at Classix, we have to be aware. We are very international. We have to be aware of what's going on around us. And a huge trend 3 years ago was women composers. And we dedicated, not last edition, but the edition before that in 22, it was called Feminism in Classical Music. So that was the basic, more or less, the concept of that edition. And the push was even to you, Clara. Okay, let's do. You are very traditionally with repertoire, very established. We do one contemporary composer, but I urged you to include a woman composer. And the thing is, what we're trying to do now is not to put the highlight anymore on women composers, is to just normally include it, because I think that's how you normalize a trend. That's how it becomes normal without just flashing everyone with it. That being said, I'm looking at Andrei, I'm looking at Vincent and Alex. You each represent some foreign ministries or some ministries of culture. What are the trends from them regarding certain celebrations? How much does the vision of your own center based locally align or has to align with the one that's being, let's say, proposed from the ministry? And that kind of maybe applies to you, Clara, because you of course publicly funded locally in Denmark. Do you get like some sort of vision from the land or the county you're based in? And so the question is, how do you set your vision based on the proposals from the ministry or the land you're governed by?
Oh, I can begin while you're thinking, because we're funded both by the Danish state, the cultural ministry, and by the local authority, and they have very different visions. So it's a lot of fun to put that together, the puzzle, because the state is very much for promoting emerging artists and composers and diversity and making sure that culture evolves. And the local authorities are very much for serving the local audiences who are, unlike here, where we were amazed by how many young people come to the concerts. To our concerts, if we have like 2, then that was a success, because 99% of our audiences have gray hair. And they have a very specific idea about what they want to listen to, which is not diversity and not inclusion and not innovative formats. So we have to always find a good balance that what we did yesterday, like have a little bit of Mozart here and at the end, and a little bit of Saint-Saëns, and in between a little bit of innovation, and then it's easier to sell it to the local audiences.
Well, perhaps it's the German federalism who's to blame for my personal freedom here. Indeed, I can offer nearly everything I propose together with my Romanian partners, or even my creepy ideas on culture I can realize in the German Cultural Center, because we have this liberty. Indeed, we are proposing every end of the year our new projects to Bucharest, headquarter of the Goethe Institute, but then it depends also who is the director in Bucharest, and at this moment it's a perfect guy who's really so open-minded, and he would never interfere in the local strategies of Iași, Cluj, Sibiu, Brașov, Timișoara, where we have such German cultural centers. So given this freedom, I can do what I want if there is something which is called Deutschlandbezug, which means a relation to Germany. Well, I cannot, let's say, invite Romanian artists to play Enesco, which makes no sense. But I can invite Romanian artists to play Beethoven, or well, with just the classical approach, but just an example. Or I can invite a German violinist to play Enesco. So this is something has to be the Deutschlandbezug, the connection to Germany. So, but otherwise, I'm very free to do what I want, and certainly we are working together here in the country with the Goethe Institute, first of all, who is financing our events, and certainly the other cultural centers, and we are trying to invite together, for example, for a tour, artists and to have itinerant expositions, things like that. And certainly we are aware of major events like your Strauss. Last year we had Kafka, who has had his 100 year death celebration, or whatever you can call it. And in this context, we had a theater company, the Jewish theater company from Bucharest here, who proposed a Kafka piece, which was very, very nice, and so on. So we are certainly up to date with what is happening in Germany, and what trends are en vogue at the moment, and what personality, or what we had some years ago we had the Bauhaus 100-year Bauhaus jubilee, which was also very important for us to promote in Romania. As, for example, in Bucharest, there are some very strong influences by Bauhaus on civil construction in the 30s, for example. Very interesting. But so we do such things, certainly.
It was commemoration, not celebration.
About artistic trends, it's French centralism. So we do theoretically have some trends, but it's not. They are not artistic trends. They are more politic trends, because French Institute is not only an artistic center. We do promote, academic exchanges. We promote French learning and so on. So we do have some very general trends: European unity, feminism. We have diplomacy féministe, by example, equity, inclusion, and so on. So we have to include in our programmation this kind of huge ideas and values, but it let us relatively free to choose on the ground what we want to do.
We are very free, actually, very, very free. Of course, as all of us here, I think we have to emphasize the fact that right now it will matter even more and more and more the fact that we are Europeans, before actually being French, Austrian, Germans, whatever, Romanians or Danish. No, and Norwegians also. even Norwegians. Actually, it's extremely important. On a very serious note, I think that it's extremely important to promote our countries, the countries we are representing, in an European concert, because right now, looking at what is happening all around us, this European ground will be extremely important in order to defend our values. And actually, all our ministries and all our main institutions that are actually, in a way, our umbrella for our activity, they are defending, all of them, European values. And we are here, and we are here in Romania, we are here in France, we are here in Austria, wherever, in Germany, in order to defend those values. And those values include equity, include human rights, include all the values that the European Union is promoting. And I'm guaranteeing you that what I'm saying now are not just words. And I'm underlining that, not just words. We are doing that on a regular basis. And all the programs, for instance, that we are promoting, which are designed in Vienna, some of them, but which we are designing them in Bucharest as well, because we are free to imagine whatever we want, but to be in accordance with the ground rules of the ministry. All these programs are promoting in various ways those European values. For instance, we have a program called, since we are talking about feminism and women composers and women artists, we have a program called Calliope Join the Dots, which is actually promoting women in arts, culture, and science. And since we are here, the guests of Classix, we are promoting, for instance, a program called the New Austrian Sound of Music, which is the most powerful instrument of the Republic of Austria in order to help emerging artists. And Classix, since the beginning, since the first edition, was one of the best practice example in implementing this New Austrian Sound of Music in Romania, for instance. All the artists that you have heard here, listened to, at Classix during these sixth edition, were actually part of NASO. The violinist you will listen to tomorrow, Daniel Auner, who is one of the former NASOM artists, it's nowadays an ambassador of the Austrian culture with his violin. And it's one of the most important young artists of his generation, promoting that, being a new kind, yes, of musician and artists, promoting his art, and in the background, really in the background, Austria. And this is something extremely interesting. How do you promote arts, emerging arts and emerging trends, but promoting actually your own country, but not necessarily emphasizing it? And this is something that we should take care of in whatever country we are citizens of or we are grounded, because this is important in a European concert. We are Germans, Austrians, Romanians, Danish, French, whatever, but we are Europeans. And this is an added value, in my opinion.
You wanted to add something, Clara?
Just a small addition that we shouldn't forget that, of course, we're looking forward, but we share several thousands of years of history together, where in the arts, all the artists were traveling all Europe and were studying in different countries and were inspired by each other. And in the artistic field, it's not a new thing to go over the borders and just be inspired by other nations and other artists. We are European. And I know in music, in a concert, it's very easy to show, because we just say, okay, we showed this and this composer who were inspired by each other and happened to have a different nationality. Also in fine arts, it's very easy to showcase that, because they were inspired by each other. And it's a really good way of promoting Europeanness, to just show that this is not a new thing. This doesn't come with the European Union. This has been there for thousands of years.
Sorry for intervening again, especially to Karina. Yeah, I would like to highlight first what Andrei said regarding NAZOM. And I think, to praise basically the program itself, because for emerging artists, it's a fantastic platform. They get to travel a lot to fantastic places. And in the case of Romania, I would say the vast majority of artists who did enter the market, so to say, in Romania, were in festivals like Classix. The vast majority of them were called back by institutions in Romania in another professional settings, whether it's Iași Philharmonic, Sibiu Philharmonic, Timișoara Opera, or whatever. So that's a fantastic launching pad for these artists. Now, I would like to provoke Clara a bit, because we're both, Scandinavians. Scandinavian residents. But the panel is called Cultural Crossroads. And there are some crossroads, because I look at Germany, and the number of orchestras is crazy, and it's very good that it is like that. Every land has like several orchestras, both private and public. It's fantastic what they do. Austria, again, very high number of ensembles. Denmark, Norway. Of course, the geography is tricky with those two countries. However, I look at Romania. We're based here now. The number of professional choirs in Romania is impressive. Also, the number of symphony orchestras. In Denmark, you have a chamber ensemble. Why a chamber ensemble and not a symphony orchestra? And why the small numbers of orchestras and professional choirs? And I do highlight professional choirs because even in Norway, which like Denmark is not a poor country by any GDP standards, have no professional choir, basically. Every choir is volunteer choir. And why do you see this happening?
This is a really good question that you're raising. Let's invite some some Danish politicians to answer that question. No, it's true that in Denmark the symphonic tradition is not that strong. They have very few really good orchestras, but they are all concentrated in the big cities. And most of Denmark, and I think also Norway, the south edge of Norway is very populated. And then there's a huge country with tiny little villages. And it's really difficult to organize a symphony orchestra of 100 musicians when the village has 50 musicians. 50 inhabitants. And it's the same with Denmark, with all the little islands. So the Danish government said that it makes more sense to have small, very mobile, very flexible ensembles in the rural settings. We're not the only ones. There's 5. And we cover a territory. And because it's only 9 musicians, we can travel very easily and then go to all the local cultural houses in the small towns, they are called. I would call them villages. By the sheer size, nothing else, just how many inhabitants there are. And play there because a symphony orchestra would not fit there. And it's really difficult to travel for the audience because of the ferries.
So, you talked about your role, how you see your roles, and you mentioned Classix as a great example of collaboration. What are some strategies that events, cultural events, and some of the people that would like to be your partners could apply in order to get your partnership? So maybe we can build on what Classix did, but maybe you also have some other case studies that you can share about?
Okay, let's start with Classix. The way they address us is very interesting, because we have to help and to promote new way of organizing cultural events. And Classix is able to have many partnership, to have all kind of financement. Yep. So we know that if one partner disappear 1 year, the festival will survive, and it's very important for us to show and to help what is culture economy, because culture is an industry. In France, we know that culture produce growth and is a big part of the country's GDP. So we would like to promote those who are, artists, who feels as artists, but also people who have, concrete approach of what art is and how does it work. Because if we rely only on, traditional institution and traditional way of approach art, we risk, and that was the case 20 years ago. We were the main, financiers. Okay, we want to do that. Please pay us, help us. We can't do that anymore, and we don't have. Even if we could do that, we don't have to promote that, because we have to help those who things, cultural events as they have to be today. On an artistic point of view, by promoting pluridisciplinarity, new trends and so on, but also in the way they are organized.
But I would like to know, even on a practical level, what do they have to do? They reach out to you. They have to, apply for a specific grant if it comes to funding. How do they approach you? Maybe we have cultural events representatives here.
Well, normally the baseline is you have to have a good concept and a good idea, and then we are in. So this is very simple. If you're coming up with, well, it was the case of Dragos when 6 years ago he came with a concept without any, let's say, we were not then jumping on the train which was already going fast, moving fast. It was a complete new idea, and it was a risk at the beginning for us to say, well, it's not established as a festival. We have no idea if it will succeed. But the concept was so brilliant that we, from the beginning, said, yes, we will participate. And that's the point. You have to have a good idea, a good proposal, or if you don't have a proposal, the good idea will help you to help us to find a specialist or a musician or an expert or an artist, because the Goethe Institute has a large expertise and they have experts in München who are scouting talents and they have also let's say a huge database with artists and experts. So that's the way to do it. This is my opinion, and that's the way it works here in Yash with all our partners, especially from the our interest. This is true for you, both of you too. We are interested in the independent artist scene and independent movements of grassroots movements of art and music, certainly.
I would add that it has to be exactly how Alex described it. It has to be innovative, interesting, but very realistic. Because if you are coming actually and telling me that you're planning a huge exhibition with Klimt in Romania, I will say, wow, do you have actually those 3, 4, 5 million euros actually to invest in that? And then why are you coming to us? But if we're building actually starting from Classix, because it's really a good example in what we are talking about. So this concept at the beginning, as Alex emphasized, was good, very well established, very innovative, targeting a young audience, which all of us actually here are targeting, and with a very realistic and very down-to-earth approach. And that was good. And it was with a fair amount of time, actually, before starting. Because it's not very seldom, I would say, that we receive proposals 1 week or 2 weeks before an event, which is since the beginning, since the email, a no-go. That's for sure.
What's a reasonable time frame?
A reasonable time frame is, I would say, 3 to 5 months, because we all here actually are depending on the budgets that our headquarters are providing. And for instance, for the Austrian case, we have applications that are targeting thirds of the year. So we are not on trimesters, but on tertials, let's say. So we have to know what we are planning actually some good months before. It's no surprise and no secret that the cultural budgets are shrinking everywhere. So all that money has to be very wisely spent. That's why actually, and it's extremely important what Vincent said actually a few minutes ago, we cannot support everything anymore. That is why it's our job here, not necessarily to decide who is more valuable in terms of project, but to judge what is very relevant, let's say, for the local market. Because if we don't have the expertise in all fields, we know something for good. We know what the market here wants. That is our job, to know what the local audience want. In terms of innovation, in terms of trends, in terms of non-mainstream culture. We know how far we can go with things. That's something really, again, in our job description. And this is something we really care about. And whenever actually we have a project that is submitted, I am assuring you, and I'm really emphasizing that, and it's the case for all of us three here, we are analyzing that proposal very, 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 very carefully. Because we are, and this is something related to the money and the budgets we have to deal with. Because in all our cases, we are dealing with the German, French, and Austrian taxpayers' money. And this is something that, and now I'm talking as a Romanian, not as an Austrian clerk, let's say. This is something that in Romania is not necessarily very well internalized. The public money doesn't belong to anyone. For us, now as a deputy director of the Austrian Cultural Forum, I can say that I'm looking very carefully at each and every, not an euro, but each and every euro cent that I have to put in a project, because I am dealing with the Austrian taxpayer money, and we have to take care about that.
Well, the Austrians are more flexible, I hear now, than the Germans, because we have to know already at the end of the year, the calendaristic year, we have to know not only 3 or 5 months before, if it's happening at the end of the year, or somebody is planning something for let's say the second half of the year, we have to know it already in November or December of the actual year, because we are planning for the whole year, and larger projects involving sums from €1,000 upwards need such a long time for planning, not for budgeting, not for planning. But certainly, if somebody is coming and say, I want to launch a book in the German Cultural Center, a book about German history, whatever, and the author is coming from Bucharest, can you offer 2 nights at the hotel? This would be no problem even during the year, because we have some petty money to spend on actual short and cheap issues like some local events like that. But money which is targeted to larger projects has to be announced, or has to be agreed on at a very early stage.
Yeah, I see that discussion took a very pragmatic aspect, but it's very important. We have to justify every euro we spend, and we have to convince our ministry that we are still important, and it's not easy, because priorities in every European countries are huge. We have to pay for hospital, for pensioners, for army, for a lot of problems. And the question is it still important and priority to promote our culture in other countries? And we have to convince them that, yes, it's still important. And one key point about a successful project nowadays is also public. We have to reach audiences, broader audiences, because one about general values, one political trend is that we have to democratize culture. We have to get out of our bubble. Most of the people don't go to theater. Most of the people don't read, don't go to see a movie, and so on. And we have to find younger publics, and to have broader audiences. That's also one of our missions. And Classix, from the beginning, has this goal.
Do you collaborate between your institutions for bigger events, bigger projects, where you suppose that?
Well, the French and German connection is we are obliged by our governments to work together. Even if I hate Vincent, I have to collaborate, especially on certain days like the Élysée day in January and so on. And this is a good opportunity because after our talk, I will approach our Austrian colleague for a common project we are planning, a European project involving hopefully all institutions in autumn. So it's more than 5 months. So you have no excuse.
Well, we'll see.
But remaining for a moment in this pragmatical discussion, so there are some projects that you organize, right? The projects that you start, projects that come from cultural events to you. Do artists reach out directly? And I'm also curious to know your perspective from Denmark, Clara, from the artistic point of view.
I'm not entirely sure how to answer the question.
So do you reach out to cultural institutions for support if you, for example, are being booked to play at an event?
Yes, as the Danish Cultural Institute, of course, because we do, and sometimes it's a very successful collaboration, and sometimes it's less for different reasons. But it's mostly when we are touring, of course. So when we are already touring, then we reach out to the local Danish institute to ask if they can hold a reception or they can help us guide to the specific people and so on. And that's a very good way of an artist based in the home country to know different local, getting into a local network, let's say.
Into the more mainstream music, it's usually like festivals prefer to talk to managers and agents and not directly to artists. So this is why I'm asking. I'm curious to know if it's better if the events come to you, the cultural events, or you're open to support a specific artist if they apply or they...
There are several solutions, let's say. So, of course, festivals are approaching us. Of course, agents are approaching us. Of course, institutions, whatever, are approaching us. All of us, three. Artists are approaching us very much, I would say, because they need actually that support, and we are here to support in the first place. We are here to support them precisely if they are proposing a project which is complying with the regulations and with those points that I emphasized earlier, meaning actually innovation, values, etc., etc. We are collaborating very much among us, actually, because again, we are living right now in Europe. For instance, we are developing a lot our connections to the French Institute, and I am talking about the French Institute as the Institut Français de Roumanie. So the entire institution, because, for instance, there are a lot of French artists living in Austria since many years, and they are considered actually as, I wouldn't say Austrian, but Austrian residents. So how do you do actually when, for instance, French musicians living in Austria, French fine artists living in Austria, are photographers, painters, whatever, are approaching us. So we are sharing costs. And this is something extremely important because we are promoting. Is the same thing with German artists living, and there are a lot of German artists living in Austria. It's the first ethnic community in Austria. They are approaching us, and we are supporting them, and we are promoting in this way the mobility of artists in Europe, and we are promoting mainly the European spirit. Because if we have something extremely important that we share right now in Europe, is the fact that we can travel freely and we can live very freely in whatever country in Europe we want to. So it's extremely important that we as countries, we are encouraging this kind of mix of ethnicity, nationalities, cultures, which are right now based on the territories of the countries we are representing. And this makes a lot the beauty of Europe right now, and especially it's extremely important right now, given the fact that the isolated tendencies are raising all over Europe. Why don't we actually emphasize finally what Europe means? And we are benefiting with all those festivals and with all those events that we are financing. We are benefiting for those great advantages that we have being Europeans and being based in Europe. It's extremely important. We are not fully aware about those advantages, and that is why we are here, and we are promoting and we are encouraging and we are supporting these kind of festivals, because for instance, let's talk very concretely. In Austria, the second largest ethnic community is Romanians. And we are supporting a lot of Romanians based in Austria, which cannot get the support necessarily from the Romanian Cultural Institute when playing, being involved in cultural projects in Romania. So they are considered as Austrians coming here, but they are Romanians. So we are promoting that in both senses. And this is something that not many people are thinking about. And this should be more evident in a way. Sorry.
Interesting is that the Austrians, or only Andre, I don't know, think of the German community in Austria as an ethnic group. Very interesting, this approach. And
It's Vienna, actually.
and we, for just an example for exactly what Andre said, for Austria is true also for us. This year at Philid Literature Festival, we will invite a German author by the name of Dintre Gütjetlin. So I think this is his name. He's Turkish of origin, but he wrote a extremely appreciated novel called Our German Fairy Tale, and it's the perspective of a migrant family from Turkey, certainly, in Germany. He was born in Germany already, but his parents came to Germany in the 70s. So this is what when we are talking about German culture, exactly what you told about what is Austrian, what is German today. Yeah, certainly this is a very German author because he's dealing with Germany. His language of writing is German, so it's the best example for German writer, even though his let's say his genetics are different. But this is not. This is exactly what we now share as European value. This is the point. It's not about. It is about culture and. For example, you know from television, the most Romanian guy I ever saw is this cadrul from TV. He's very Romanian. So what's the issue? That's it. If you are accepted by the community as one of their own, and if you share the values and the language and the culture, then you are Romanian, German, Austrian, whatever. So that's what all is about. But coming back to your first question, I hate to deal with managers. From sorry to say that,
that's
but
not great to hear.
You are different. You are different. You are Romanian and so on. But the German partners we are dealing with, I love to speak with the artists, with the musicians, because I normally I get the direct line and touch to them. The tour managers or representatives normally have other issues and they just want to sell them and not to they don't care. If I'm talking to musicians, I say, come to Yash, it's very cool, and we are good hosts, and you will have a great time, and the audience is perfect, and my special let's say field of activity is jazz, with the jazz concerts in Yash by the German Cultural Center. And I always explain to them that they have a younger audience, not gray-haired, baldy men, but young people, and I'm selling them the idea. And I say, okay, but I cannot offer you such a large fee, and they will accept, but the manager never will accept that. So I prefer to talk to the artist directly, and this is happening normally. Normally, sometimes it's not working, and the best concerts had always been the ones where I had the direct contact with the artist. So that's my personal experience, and perhaps not the general rule, but this is not what you wanted to hear.
No. I didn't want to hear something specific. I was curious to know your experience. I'm approaching my final question. Are there any questions from the audience, apart from Dragos? Okay, so looking ahead, what do you think are the key priorities for strengthening international collaboration?
Am I starting? I think what Andrei,
like looking ahead, like on a long-term basis.
Yes, I think what Andrei said about European values is really important for everyone. If we want to have European collaborations, then we have to reach for what is the common ground, and we do have common values, and we do have common history, and we do have a common culture that we would like to promote and strengthen. And I think it's really important to have that as a basis in every collaboration.
Yes, for the future, I see a small change perhaps in our future activities. Perhaps this would be an idea, and we discussed this also during our meetings with the Goethe Institute and the other cultural centers, to direct more attention to strengthening the, let's say, the political education, or let's how to say, to get more involved. We have always been involved, especially 20 years ago, with the civil society, the emerging civil society of Romania, and perhaps now is the moment to come back to these aspects of events dealing with values, democracy, and benefits of open societies. For example, this would be perhaps one of the directions where we head in the future. But certainly in the music business, things are clear. The language of music is internationally recognized, and you don't need to be, let's say, francophone or Germanophone. You just have to listen to music. So this is certainly also in the future our way to remain in Classix and in other projects of promoting music and German, let's say, input in this direction.
Actually, I don't have an artistic or cultural background. I'm a political scientist, and I don't know what the future will be. And the cultural cooperation in the future will depend on the political frame we do have now, and that we have to emphasize. Andrei told this already. We will have thriving cultural cooperation if we can keep a ground to cooperate, a political framework who allows this. And so art has to be now a defender of democratic and European values.
I would say that adding to what Alex and Vincent said already is that I think that cultural events, whatever that those events might be, should encourage the mutual listening and to encourage the mutual discoveries. It's true that we are all depending on a political background and on political trends that are and ground lines that are provided by our governments, the governments we are representing. But nevertheless, if we are careful with what we have, and if we are actually I'm trying to find the right diplomatic word. If
You
we
don't have to be diplomatic.
if we are very careful and if we are determined in promoting this mutual understanding, whatever the political things are imposing us, I think we should not lack on the long term the decision to, again, listen to each other. Because this would be, in my opinion, the only way to get a side of isolation and everything that is really raising on the continent, outside the continent, etc., etc. We should not forget, actually, to be very attentive to the other one. That's that's something that we should, and to encourage also the dialogue between us. Really, again, what I'm saying and what we are saying here are not just words and beautiful speeches. It's enough actually to open any news platform and you will understand what I'm saying here. It's very important not to give up, because the temptation is really huge now to isolate and to say, something first. No, we are first because we are people, and we are actually the people. We are the beneficiaries of what we are doing here. And it's extremely important not to lose what we have gained during the years. It's very fragile. It's very fragile, but it's even more important because it's fragile to keep it.
That being said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to us, and enjoy the rest of Classix.